This is Law of Attraction Explored. I'm Tim Grimes. If you'd like a free guide that explains the hidden link between relaxation and the law of attraction, or if you want more information about my books or my coaching, you can visit radicalcounselor.com. Enjoy the episode. So lean back and relax your body. Feel free to close your eyes or keep them open, whatever you prefer. If you're not sitting or lying down and are moving, just feel your body relax as you move. Regardless of what's going through your head right now or how you physically feel, just gently sink into this moment. No pressure, nothing to attain. One thing I notice, and I think is rather prevalent in this law of attraction space, is this idea that we're trying to catch a mood and then to hold on to it. And while I think most of us listening to this can understand the sentiment behind that approach and perhaps the logic behind such an approach, and also understand that we have explored such an approach on this show, it's important always not to get too caught up with the language of a certain approach, like inhabit a state, assume a state, maintain a frequency, maintain a vibration. Consciously, what we observe, what we see, what we experience, all of that is in flux. It's changing constantly. And this advice, as well-meaning and accurate as it might be, to hold on to or maintain or focus upon a certain state or frequency or vibe, can very easily lend itself to being unable to appreciate the fluidity, the flux of conscious living. For instance, the idea of maintaining a state and making it your predominant state does not mean that we should try to hold ourselves in a box or put a straitjacket on how we feel in order to maintain that so-called desired state. That, in my opinion, is stupidity. Yet that is exactly what we inadvertently often seem to do, especially when we become familiar with these concepts and principles that many law of attraction and manifesting teachers talk about. You really can't box in your imagination. You can't box in life. You can't box in the universe. You can't box in God. Doing so is just your imagination in action, moving in that way. It's just God in action, moving that way. You are that. You always are that. Similarly, so often we hear about becoming aware of a state in order to change it, aware of how we're vibing or of what frequency we're on in order to change it. But being aware in such a way does not mean that we box ourselves in. We're fully experiencing whatever state or frequency we are in right now. See, consciously, if we label ourselves self, we're aware of it. And what a lot of these law of attraction teachers do not talk about well is what happens when we do not label ourselves. The awareness of the label drops away. The self that we have labeled drops away. The visceral experience that is beyond our normal rational labeling thinking is not awareness in the normal way that it is taught and explained in most law of attraction teachings. When you see this for yourself, you realize that you put yourself in a box. I put myself in a box unnecessarily. If there's no real self, there's no real state to wish to change into. Because what you are is complete already when the self drops away. The fluidity of life, the fluidity of God, the flux of life, the flux of God becomes one of utter acceptance and peace when the self drops away. No self, no problem. In The Power of Awareness, Neville says that if a tree were aware of being a tree, it would be a tree. This is a stupid statement. A tree is not aware of being a tree. A tree is a tree. As a human, we're aware of being a human, but our awareness in that sense means nothing. It's a very small, in-the-box thing. When that drops away, something substantial is naturally there. So we can work on shifting ourselves, shifting our state, shifting our frequency. But we should remember, in my opinion, that all of that stuff is often in-the-box thinking. And what's out of the box thinking is alive, pure, and free already. And if we acknowledge and accept that more, our lives naturally seem to improve and we manifest better things in our lives often, it seems like, on a practical level, without all this effort, without all this in-the-box thinking, without thinking that a tree is aware of itself, so it is a tree. Life is not stupid. It is smart. If we recognize it's smart, we feel better.